Today, we're diving into one of the most incredible stories ever told, the celestial wedding of Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati. And let me tell you, it's a story that will completely change how you think about weddings and grooms.
You know, the whole story really hangs on this one amazing question. We all have this idea of what a wedding should be, right? Grand, beautiful, full of splendor. But what happens when the groom is the ultimate ascetic, someone who is totally beyond all that worldly stuff? Well, the answer is you get a little bit of chaos, a whole lot of beauty, and a lesson for the entire cosmos.
All right, so where does a story like this even begin? Well, it doesn't start with your typical romance. It starts with something much deeper, immense devotion and a pretty major request from the gods.
So the path to this wedding was set in motion by a few key events. First, you have Parvati's absolutely intense penance, which is what gets Mahadev's attention. Then, all the other gods are practically begging Shiva to marry, for the good of the universe. And his response? Just a simple smile and a nod. The message goes out, preparations kick into high gear, and it seems like everything is going perfectly. Or so they thought.
But just when everything seems to be falling into place, the story takes a seriously wild turn. Because as everyone was getting ready for this spectacular divine ceremony, they kind of forgot one crucial, very unconventional detail about the groom himself.
Seriously, just picture this for a second. You've got all the big names there, Vishnu, Brahma, Indra, and they are all decked out in their celestial best. There's this incredible party atmosphere in the air. But the man of the hour, Shiva, he's nowhere to be found. He's actually still off meditating in a cremation ground, completely unconcerned about his own wedding.
The contrast here is just wow. When his followers finally get him to prepare, his idea of wedding attire is unlike anything the universe has ever seen. While all the other gods are dripping in jewels and fine silks, Shiva decides to adorn himself with the raw symbols of who he really is. Okay, let's just break this down because it's absolutely mind-blowing. His crown? It's his matted hair. His necklace? A living 5-headed serpent. His entire body is smeared with ash from the cremation grounds. And for the final touch, he's got scorpions just dangling from his headwear. This isn't just unconventional. It's genuinely terrifying. He is the ultimate nonconformist.
So you have the strangest groom in the history of the cosmos. Now, what about his wedding procession, the Barat? Let me tell you, if you thought the groom was a shock, just wait till you meet his guests.
That's right. Shiva's groomsmen were not gods and celestial beings. Nope. His entourage was his followers, ghosts, ghouls, spirits, and every kind of otherworldly creature you can imagine from the fringes of existence. This was, hands down, the most fearsome wedding party ever assembled.
Can you even imagine the scene? The people of the city had prepared for this beautiful, divine procession, but instead this terrifying, chaotic, screaming horde descends on their pristine home. Absolute pandemonium breaks out.
And this little detail really paints the picture of pure panic. This wasn't just confusion, it was primal fear. Kids were screaming and hiding. Adults were slamming their doors shut and chanting the name of God, hoping for protection. Think about that. The groom's party was so scary that people were praying to be saved from it.
All of this chaos leads us to the emotional heart of the story, the absolute crisis point, and we see it all through the eyes of one very, very important person. And that is Parvati's mother, Queen Maina. She's standing right at the door, holding the ceremonial aarti tray, all ready to perform the welcoming ritual for her brand new son-in-law. She is expecting a divine king.
And then she sees him. Not a glorious king, but a terrifying ascetic covered in ash and snakes, leading an army of ghouls. The shock is so immense, she just faints, collapses right there at the entrance.
This is the lowest point in the entire story. When she comes to, this is her first thought. It's a moment of pure regret and horror. In her mind, she has just condemned her precious daughter to a life with an absolute monster. But it's always darkest before the dawn. Just as total despair takes hold, understanding begins to break through. This is the moment the whole story pivots, from outward appearances to inner truth, and reveals what this wedding is really all about. Right at that moment, the wise sage Narada steps in. He explains the truth to the horrified family. He tells them, look, this isn't some wild hermit from the mountains. This is Shiva, the supreme lord of all creation. His appearance isn't a lack of respect, it's a reflection of his true nature, which is beyond all worldly illusions and rules.
And Narada keeps going. He explains that Parvati is no ordinary princess either. She is Shakti herself, the universal mother, the divine energy that powers the cosmos. She is his equal, his perfect other half.
And in that single instant, with that understanding, everything changes. The fear that had gripped the entire city just evaporates. And what's left behind is this overwhelming feeling of joy and wonder. They realized they weren't watching a disaster. They were witnessing a cosmic event of unimaginable importance.
And so, having taught everyone this profound lesson, Shiva then reveals his beautiful, gentle, divine form. The wedding proceeds just as it should. He takes Parvati's hand, the ceremony is completed, and the heavens themselves celebrate, showering the new couple with flowers. So, here's the crucial point. The story uses a wedding to tell a much, much deeper truth. This was never just about two individuals getting married. This was about the reunion of two fundamental forces of the entire universe.
Think of it this way. Shiva represents pure consciousness, and Shakti represents creation itself, all the energy, all the matter in the universe. One simply cannot exist without the other. Their marriage is the symbol for the perfect harmony and balance of everything.
And as the wedding came to a close, the heavens echoed with that joyous chant, Har Har Mahadev. It was a celebration, not just of a marriage, but of the universe itself finding its perfect balance. It really leaves us with a final thought. Maybe the most beautiful truths can only be found when we're willing to look past a shocking exterior to see the divine reality within.